everyone, my name is Linda and you're welcome to Best Education Services. Today we have with us one of our cherished clients and we want to discuss her experience with studying abroad. Hi Eyra, you're welcome.
Thank you, Linda.
We would like to know your experience with Best Education Services, first of all, and then your journey with studying in the US. So please go ahead.
Okay, I came to Best Education Services in 2017, and I met with the staff, and I was taken through all the processes. So we started scouting for schools, and not just one school. So they were looking through schools for me, and they took my particulars, my documents, senior high school, and if you've worked and all of that. So your CV and all of that. So the process was quite easy for me because I didn't have to do the tumultuous job of like going through schools, looking for the requirements, getting to know if I'm eligible or not. Special Education Services was able to do all of that for me. And so it gave me the time to just relax and then um, just give the work to them, and they did it. So it was easier with them because they will not, Best Education Services did not like make you wonder what was happening. They take you through the process. So they communicate with you. This is what is happening. They always contact you at the right time when they get information from the school feedback. They just get back to you and make sure things are moving quite smoothly. So I would say that was how the process went. And then they got the school for me, and then we started with that.
So that's really good to note because at Best Education Services, what we want to do is to keep our students updated with the process, and it's not just what we are doing, but you are aware of what is happening from day one to when you get your offer letter, and I'm sure that is what Eyra experienced. Okay, Ariel, so why don't you tell us which university did you finally settle with? Because obviously you had a number of offer letters.
Yes. So I settled with Oregon State University in Oregon State, the northwest of America, and that was the school I got. They gave me an offer letter, so we sent the documents in, and then they sent the I-20. Then we processed everything, and then it was time for interview at the embassy. And so Best Education Services also went through with me with the interview process. So I always came here, and then we would do practice of like some of the questions that they would ask me. And then at first, because like, yes, I haven't been to American Embassy before, so it was a bit scary that, oh my God, like what are they going to ask me? But every time I came here, the staff would just sit out here, and then we would talk about the questions, tell me to relax, do this, don't do that. So they kind of put you at rest and not scare you that you're going to say the wrong thing. So yeah, it was quite easy.
Yeah. And I mean, usually for US interviews, it can be scary because, first of all, you may not have experienced it before. And so, what we do is to go through the questions that the counselor is likely to ask you so that you're prepared, or you know what to say, you know what not to say, what not to do before you go for the interview. So, it's very important that before your US visa interview, you have that preparatory session. Okay, so thank you for that, Eyra. So now let's move to when you actually left Ghana and landed in the US.
Okay, so when I got to the US, obviously I was excited. I was happy that finally I have gotten my dream school, and I'm in the US to now study and pursue my dreams. So the beginning is more of like a honeymoon stage where like you are like the happiest, you're in a new environment, and you are like ready to explore. So we got to the orientation week, and then you start making friends, start meeting new people, and then you need to be very, very attentive to whatever they are saying to you because they don't repeat themselves as much. So as you're at orientation, you need to like take a pen and a paper and like start noting things down. They'll have things on the screen where you just like pay attention to what they are saying because there are vital information like throughout the whole session. So like for example, I was listening back, I was just like happy. I was so I was not really paying attention to a lot of things. So yes. It was. I'm like, wow, am I really here? So I was just like looking around, and they were talking about where to find the laundry room or and I blanked out totally on that. So after the whole day, I'm like, oh, where is the laundry room? Because they didn't mention it, but they mentioned that it was in the session. So make sure that you pay attention to all of that, and then they will give you booklets, talk about like places where you can get a phone, SIM cards, and like groceries and beddings. Pay attention to all that because sometimes they will even take you themselves, like in a group, and then drive you to get things for yourself. So don't be like, I'm afraid, I don't want to do it. Be free, be open, and just like accept the change because the change is not, it's not an easy one. And so even though yeah, that first week is like the honeymoon stage and everything, but after that hits you with reality, like now hits you, because then it's like you're not trying to navigate your way through things. So yeah, it is exciting and frightening at the same time.
Like that. It's exciting. Now, let me take you back a bit to the interview session. Okay. Now, even though you were prepped, I'm sure your experience there was quite similar. I'm sure you had something else that you wanted to say about that. So, tell us about when you were being interviewed. How did it go for you?
Oh yeah, I guess like everyone is kind of like scared to enter the American embassy because of how they're mostly strict and how they talk. But one thing is you have to be very vocal and like speak loud. If you talk like you're whispering, that's not how they talk. So you need to be very vocal and like speak out and then give the answers. Give concise and precise answers. If you give like very long sentences, that's they're not looking for that. So um, it is scary in the beginning, but you need to be truthful as well. Because if you go there and you're lying and you're like, they ask you, so who is your guardian and who is paying for this and who is doing that? And you're like, oh, and they start telling us, they don't want to hear it because it's like 2 minutes interview and then you just need to speak quickly. So some people go in there. I mean, when we're all in the line, we listen to what other people are saying. So you need to be very concise with what you are saying. If they ask you who is paying for it, just mention this. So why is this person paying for this? What program are you doing? Your address, who are you going to stay with? Or if you have an accommodation, where are you going to? Because sometimes they'll ask you a question and then they'll go back, they'll ask you, they proceed and go back and ask you the same thing. And then you need to be very careful with what you're saying. They just want honesty. So you just need to be very honest. Don't go and be given wrong sense. They don't want it. So just be precise, concise, and then that's it.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so now let's discuss a bit more about the curriculum here in Ghana, or the way we're used to education here in Ghana as against that in the US. So because from what you're saying, you keep saying you should pay attention, you should be vocal, but usually here in Ghana, it's you're more relaxed in class, you just want to take your notes and then after that leave and go do your own thing. So how would you talk about the whole education experience in the US as against that in that of Ghana?
Okay, so I'll say it's two types because I did undergrad and master's program, so they're also very two different things. I'll say the undergrad is also more chilled, laid back, but they use more practical ways of teaching you. When I say practical, meaning that when they're trying to explain, maybe teach a concept, they would use maybe discussions and like group discussions to teach you the concept. That way you're able to grab what they're talking about, right? So it's like you are in a class and the teacher is like saying, okay, get into groups and then gives you this work to do. By the end of the session, the class, you understand exactly what they're talking about. You grab that concept immediately. Unlike in the Ghana system, I'm not saying it's terrible, but but it's like yes, but it's like okay, you're taking notes and like you are supposed to like memorize it. You're supposed to get it immediately. That is not the case. One thing that surprised me also, I think one math class I was taking, and yes, you need to understand the concept all right, but during the one of the midterms, you have a cheat sheet. So it's like you you write down the formulas on the paper. So you're allowed to bring that to class because they know you cannot keep that in your head. It's so many formulas. So you have a cheat sheet that you can look on during the exam period and also just use that to answer questions. So you are not, they make things a little easier for you because you don't have to. I mean, it made sense. It was shocking to me and it was an interesting moment because I'm like, I don't like math in the first place. And they're actually like helping me to like pass. I'm not cheating, but I'm legally being helped. Exactly, and one other thing is they have like resources. So like the math class I was in, they had like the math lab on campus. So if it's a science class, there's a science lab, physics lab, whatever it is. So those places are for students who need help with their assignments and whatever it is. So they have like maybe graduate students or like assistants, professors who are in there to help you. So, and they have like teaching assistants who would also help you. So they have office hours, which we don't have in Ghana though, but they have office hours. So like, let's say the professor has office hours for like maybe 1, 2 hours. And if you don't understand something from class, you go there and then tell the person this is what and what you're having trouble with. And if there's a resource in the library or something, they'll provide you with it. So those are the things that made life easier for me. And even when I had maybe my laptop crash or something, you can loan a laptop from the library for like the whole term. So it made things easier if you're not financially stable with maybe gadgets and maybe stuff like that. You can just loan it from, you don't pay a dime because you're already paying school fees. So if it's a charger, whatever it is, you'll be provided with those things. So that was one of the perks that I enjoyed in school.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So now let's talk about your experience as a student when it comes to work. Okay, how do you go about it?
With working and studying at the same time, you need to make sure that you have your schedules, your class schedule planned out properly before you even go to work, because working is difficult at the same time schooling. So make sure that you're on top of all your things, on top of all your classes before you can work, because if your work is interfering in your academics, they'll make you go on probation or they'll make you stop. So even before you do the application to work, they will check your GPA and all of that to ensure that that is not even interfering with your work. Even, especially as an international student, they are very particular about those things. So I learned that I cannot sit as a cashier for like hours on end. You stand and then you work. So I learned a lot of things. So let's say I go to class during the day. So I start my class in the morning, in the afternoon. I'm done with that. I go to work maybe from 5 p.m. to like 11 p.m. Then you close work. And it's not easy. So, I mean, I would advise that go out there. That was not the only work I did. I also worked as a volunteer with my professor. And I didn't know that she was going to be my professor in grad school. So I applied to be a volunteer to help new students or transfer students who were coming into the school. And so through that, I got to know her, and that was where I got an offer letter to start grad school. So things work out when you step out there, and then like communicate with people, socialize with people, and then look for work. There are so many opportunities that will come to you when you step out there, go out there and ask questions, and even say you just want to work or you want to volunteer and do something. Opportunities will just pop up for you.
Wow, I like that. So we need to go out there, not stay in, because when you go out there, you get opportunities. Okay, so let's touch a bit on scholarships. Did you apply for any scholarships? Did you get any scholarships?
I think with when I started with Into, I got I got a scholarship. I think I got like maybe a quarter of it. It was not that much, but at least I reduced some of it. And I think because I was working with Best Education Services, they were able to slash some of the fees off for me. So yeah, I'll say that was the scholarship I got.
Okay. Yeah. So usually when you go through Into, which is one of our pathway partners, you can get between 5,000 to 10,000 US dollars off your tuition fee, but it's based on merit, so we have to bear that in mind.
Yes.
Okay, so unfortunately our conversation has ended. It was really nice having you, Eyra. Thank you so much for coming, and any last words for our viewers?
So I'll just encourage everyone who's watching to, if you have a friend, a sibling, anyone that you think that wants to travel out of the country to study, come to Best Education Services, because I would say my journey started from here, and I would always remember Best Education Services, and I always recommend people to come here because they make the work easy for you. So instead of going online. And yes, it's good to do your own research. As Best Education Service, also like looking for schools for you. Do your best to also research when they give you the information, the feedback. Also research on the school, but they make the work way easier for you. So I recommend Best Education Services.
Okay, thank you so much, Eyra.
Thank you too,
And thank you so much for joining us today. Bye for now.